Swallow. Swallow. How can I live without you? Zhang Haonan, who was reborn before the college entrance examination, shouted loudly at the young girl with a sorrowful expression on his face. Clam. The girl with a face as pale as ashes, ready to bid farewell to this world, looked bewildered. Your father took me 80,000 yuan and sold you to me. He said he wouldn't refund you even if he died. Not a single female lead, please do not enter unless you are not pleased. This story is all fabricated, and if there are any similarities, it is purely a coincidence. Keywords of the novel. Reborn. I do not have a pattern, no pop-ups. Reborn. I do not have a pattern. Download the complete TXT collection, Reborn. I do not have a pattern. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Class 1, Haonan brother, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Class 1, Haonan brother, swallow. Swallow. How can I live without you? Before the college entrance examination, Zhang Haonan shouted loudly at the girl who was preparing to jump off the building, looking sad. Clam. The girl with a face as pale as ashes, ready to bid farewell to this world, looked bewildered. Your father took me 80,000 yuan and sold you to me. He said he wouldn't refund you even if he died. It's true. That year, Zhang Haonan put his hands in his pockets and decided to engage in the business of buying and selling people. A girl is about to commit suicide, which is a campus legend from Zhang Haonan's memory during the college entrance examination season. But before his rebirth, Zhang Haonan did not have a deep understanding of this matter in the past, only knowing that the girl was from class 16. However, Zhang Haonan still knows the specific time because the next day, to celebrate his coming-of-age ceremony, he bought a lottery ticket at the lottery station and won a second prize. After tax, he received just over 390,000 yuan. Tomorrow, he will buy a lottery ticket, and the lottery number is his student number plus his home phone number. I'm from class 1, my name is Zhang Haonan. The girl withdrew her feet from the rooftop, then lowered her head and looked timidly at the corner. I know you, Haonan brother, from class 1, she said. A class called Haonan brother, which was an extremely speechless nickname during Zhang Haonan's high school years. But it's not important now. If it can save people, that's all. Fragile people only need one reason or one hope to survive. Let's go, don't let me drift for 80,000 yuan. As he spoke, Zhang Haonan turned around and was about to leave, but found that the girl hadn't followed him. He turned his head and urged, let's go, what are you still doing here? The girl twisted her hands and bit her lips, her face still pale, and then stammered, my legs are a bit soft now. Zhang Haonan breathed a sigh of relief. He was really worried that the girl might not be able to take it seriously just now. Let's go. I walked over and carried her directly on my back, then went down the stairs. This is the top floor of the Seeking Knowledge building of the school, with a total of 5 floors. At the bottom of the building, Zhang Haonan felt a bit weak in his legs. It was already 11 o'clock at night, not long after the evening self-study ended. The gatekeeper shouted in shock, what are you doing? She's feeling unwell and overslept in the classroom, forgetting the time. I'm waiting for her. I took out my student ID, and the gatekeeper looked at it and believed it. Because Zhang Haonan is in Class 1 and Shacheng Middle School's Class 1 and Class 2 are intensive classes, the probability of being admitted to the top 9 universities in the annual college entrance examination is 99%, and the repeat enrollment rate is 100%. High-quality students make people tolerant. Go home so late and early. Just in case, the gatekeeper asked Zhang Haonan to register his departure time. Of course, there is also Zhao Fian on her back. If only you were really Yan Shou like the wife of Emperor Cheng of Han. I'm exhausted. Carrying Zhao Fian on his back for a while, there was a parking spot on the east wall of the school gate, where a Shanqing 80 motorcycle was parked. This is a second-hand Shanqing 80 motorcycle, and the words, construction machine tool, on the chain cover have long been worn out, but Zhang Haonan likes it because it was his transportation tool for a long time. As a mount, it is very qualified and reliable. At least in 4 years of university, it has never made any mistakes and worked until Zhang Haonan completed his internship at Gusu Iron and Steel Plant. Get in the car. With a gentle response, Zhao Fian sat in the back seat. Just as she lowered her head was buttoned on her helmet. Sit firmly. Accompanied by the sudden farting sound of Shanqing 80, we made 7 or 8 turns along the way. At this time, the main road of the city turned from south to north, and after more than 10 minutes, we finally arrived at a pitch-black village. The sudden sound of the motorcycle drew familiar and intense barks as it approached a household. Don't worry. I'll get you something to eat right away. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not telling you, I'm telling my dog. Zhao Fian was stunned for a moment, then lowered her head again. She quietly looked around at the typical local rural buildings, with some private land outside the cement field in front of the door. With the lights on at the entrance, she could still vaguely see a few trees. Under the osmanthus tree in the east, there is a brick dog house, and the brown-haired, four-eyed dog tied up is shaking its head and tail. Suddenly, the sound of geese came. I also raised geese. Zhao Fian thought to herself. Come in and sit down as you please. The motorcycle stopped in front of the door, and upon entering, it was the lobby. It had no decorations, but it was very clean. Tables, chairs, and benches are all made of ordinary wood, and in the center of the north wall hangs a very old statue of a great man. The side room is the kitchen, but there is still an old-fashioned stove inside that can burn firewood, but there is still a gas stove placed near the window. Shoo! A bottle of cola was handed over, and Zhao Fian quickly took it with both hands. Thank you. There is boiling water in the thermos on the table, and the tea leaves are brewed by oneself. I'll feed the dog first. Skillfully mixing the leftovers and food together, it heated up a bit, and then threw a chicken leg in. Zhang Haonan then carried the pot to the dog pen and poured the dog food into the dog bowl. At the same time, he also untied the lock on the dog's neck. After eating, the dog would go out to have fun all night, and before dawn, it would go back to its kennel on its own. Touching the dog's head, Zhang Haonan's mood also improved significantly. Returning to the kitchen, I cut a big cabbage and poured it into a bucket. Then, I went to the cabin to get some bran and made some late-night snacks for a few big-headed geese. After finishing these, Zhang Haonan returned to the kitchen and started boiling oil. He fried a few eggs and took a white radish and shredded it. He first stir-fried it and then added water. He also boiled the fried eggs inside, added salt and a little bit of sugar. In another pot, after boiling the water, a handful of dried noodles was added. Then, a large bowl was taken, mixed with soy sauce and water, and a little boiling noodle soup was scooped up. After the second water boiled, the noodles were finally brought out. Zhao Fian just watched quietly, feeling a bit cramped and uneasy, and some of her regained consciousness with lingering palpitations. Suddenly, she felt her gaze blurry. She reached out and touched it, only then did Zhao Fian realize that she was actually crying. I want to wipe away my tears, but I don't know why, the more I wipe, the more. Duh. Let's have a sip of soup first. The soup bowl was placed on the table, with green scallions floating inside. Give Zhao Fian a bowl of soup and drink it, he said. Then he turned back to the kitchen and brought the cooked noodles over. Each person took a bowl, and Zhang Haonan snored and took a breath first. He didn't say anything comforting or wanted to say anything. At this moment, Zhao Fian spoke up and said, "You said he took you 80,000 yuan, is that true? You wouldn't think I was lying to save you, would you?" As Zhang Haonan handed her a tissue, he said, "Wait a moment. He went to the side room to pick up a piece of paper and handed it to Zhao Fian, saying, "You can take a look for yourself." Zhao Fian wiped away her tears and carefully picked up the paper to look at it. This is a dowry receipt, with the date, amount, purpose, and recipient all present. The signature on the signature is the familiar 3 characters, Zhao Jiangwo, that Zhao Fian is familiar with. Why? Originally, I just wanted to save you out of humanitarianism, but later on, I saw that you looked pretty and had a side face that looked a bit like Sakai spring water. It's better to give me a discount. It's a pity to die. Don't be fooled, I rarely give people food below. Zhao Fian, whose mind was blank, carefully put down the selling contract and took a sip of the radish fried egg soup. It seemed ordinary, but unexpectedly it was not bland, but rather a little sweet. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Recommended students. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Recommended students. After finishing the noodles, Zhao Fian finally calmed down completely, but after calming down, she became helpless and uneasy again. Do you want to give Zhao Jiangwo a call? Picking up the receiver, Zhang Haonan had already dialed the number when he asked. Duh. Zhao Fian rushed up and pressed it down, then quickly took 2 steps back, lowered her head and remained silent. But now he probably isn't at home either, he should be at the gambling table. Upon hearing Zhang Haonan's words, Zhao Fian immediately bit her lips in injustice, holding back her tears. Put a gambling dog, old man, on the stall, you're quite unlucky. Zhang Haonan sighed and then asked her, who is the homeroom teacher of class 16, right? What are you doing? Give him a call and ask for his leave. Don't. In your current state, why bother going to school? Besides, I also took a leave. The college entrance examination is coming soon, my intensive class. Zhang Haonan glanced sideways at Zhao Fian, making her even more awkward. In fact, it's basically pointless for Zhang Haonan to take the college entrance examination now, as he has almost forgotten all his knowledge. Picking it up again also requires a lot of time to brush through the exam papers, which is meaningless for him. So Zhang Haonan chose to send recommendation applications to several target universities, especially for foreign language majors. As long as you pass the university interview, you can study a foreign language major. Before his rebirth, he had been engaged in export processing for a long time, so his English, German, and Japanese abilities were relatively good. The most confident one was English, and he was also training his English exam-taking skills in a targeted manner. But if one only has English proficiency, it is not enough to impress universities with independent enrollment ability, because even if it is recommended for foreign language majors, the competition is quite fierce. Fortunately, Zhang Haonan won the second prize in the Physics Olympiad of Liangjiang Province, and also had a second-level athlete. In the 2 intensive classes at Shacheng No. 1 High School, he was considered above average, which was enough to impress the interviewing teacher. The real reason why he took leave is also for an interview, not for Zhao Fian. Saving Zhao Fian was just an accident, mainly because her profile resembled Sakai spring water. Zhang Haonan first called his homeroom teacher Xiao Weidong. Teacher Xiao, I'm Zhang Haonan. I'm really sorry to disturb you so late, but I have something urgent on my end. I would like to ask for the phone number of teacher He, the homeroom teacher of class 16. It's like this. Okay, could you please, teacher Xiao? Okay, I'll listen and take notes. Thank you, teacher Xiao. Alright, I will definitely work hard. Thank you, teacher Xiao, for your concern. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Haonan finally dialed the number given by Xiao Weidong. Hello, is this teacher He? Oh, I'm Zhang Haonan from class 1. I have something to tell you. It's like this. Zhao Fian's family has had an accident. Yes, that's the situation, her father. Yes, just take a few days off to ease your mood. You definitely need to take the exam, teacher he. Don't worry, okay, I will advise her. No need, economic matters are not a problem, really. Thank you, teacher he. I'm really sorry to disturb your rest so late. Okay. Hanging up the phone again, Zhang Haonan breathed a sigh of relief and felt relieved. Tomorrow I'm going to Health City to participate in an interview with Sanjiang University of Technology. You can come with me and have some fun in Jiankong City, just relax. Interview. At this moment, Zhao Fian was still a bit confused. She didn't know why Zhang Haonan had to go for an interview. It's normal for your 16th class not to understand the matter of recommended candidates interviews and intensive classes. Just a joke, don't be so discouraged. With a smile, Zhang Haonan finally explained to Zhao Fian about being a recommended foreign language major student. Zhao Fian whispered, "It's really great, you don't even need to take the college entrance examination. If recommended students do not occupy the quota for the college entrance examination, would it be better to have one less of me? If I were to take the exam myself, I would only choose Jiaotong University of Science and Technology or Heishui University of Technology. How could I choose Sanjiang Industry?" In fact, before his rebirth, Zhang Haonan was also considered a shame in the intensive class. The probability of getting into the top 9 of previous intensive classes was 99%, and the rate of getting into a regular heavy class was 100%. However, Zhang Haonan was the only shame in this class who did not get into the top 9 and only got into a regular heavy class. Even though he was 2 out of 10 in physics and 4 out of 10 in chemistry, because he only scored 63 out of 15 in Chinese, he directly twisted his facial features on the spot with his homeroom teacher Xiao Weidong. Because Chinese was taught by Xiao Weidong. However, when facing Zhao Fian at this moment, one cannot lose their momentum and must still pretend. Unlike the intensive class, Zhao Fian's 16th class was able to enter Shacheng No. 1 middle school purely because she paid a large amount of borrowing fees. Speaking of which, Zhao Fian's father, Zhao Jiangwo, paid more for the loan than the dowry of 80,000 yuan. In short, the families of the students in class 16 are either wealthy or wealthy, so in order not to lower the enrollment rate, Shacheng No. 1 middle school basically strengthens the comprehensive development of class 16. The art teacher, music teacher, and dance teacher of class 16 are paid annually in these days. Among the teachers at Shacheng No. 1 middle school, there was a group of teachers with cars, and during this period, the comprehensive development teachers from class 16 were mainly the focus. In terms of cultural division, if class 16 is placed in the category of comprehensive development, it is also quite explosive. It is not a problem to establish a top student in the entertainment industry. Why did you choose a foreign language major at a University of Science and Engineering? Zhao Fian, who had recovered again, was willing to start using her brain again and started chatting with Zhang Haonan. For the convenience of making money. Zhang Haonan spoke confidently, but in reality, he was also helpless. Perhaps Zhao Fian was not clear that Shacheng No. 1 High School is actually a high-quality student base of Sanjiang University of Technology. He applied for a foreign language major as a recommended student. With lower difficulty. In addition, the school has already communicated with each other, and the vice principal of Shacheng No. 1 middle school has also provided assistance throughout the process. Except for those who have won the gold medal in the Olympics and are guaranteed to be admitted to the top 2 in the national first year of the Olympics, Zhang Haonan is actually the only one who has targeted choices. Those who can be admitted to Sanjiang University of Technology can basically be admitted to the same level. And those who couldn't pass the exam happen to not have the second year of the Olympic Games and the second year of the athlete's country. It can be said that Zhang Haonan was stuck in a very delicate position. This is also a decision made by Zhang Haonan after several considerations after his rebirth. To be honest, if he were to take the college entrance examination now, he may not necessarily be able to pass Zhao Fian by his side. Are you very short of money? Can you spare 80,000 yuan to buy The conversation came to an abrupt end, and Zhao Fian once again felt uneasy, her fingers intertwined and her eyes looking elsewhere. I borrowed it from my uncles. Borrowed. I told them that going to Zhao Jiangluo's place to buy from you would cost 80,000 yuan. 16 uncles each borrowed 5,000 yuan from me, and I will have to repay it in the future. So I'm not afraid that Zhao Jiangluo will play tricks and not admit his guilt. There are a total of 50.3 uncles in my family. There were many people who planned to buy you at that time, all of whom were Zhao Jiangluo's creditors. The reason why those bird people didn't dare to argue with me was also because of this. Zhang Haonan grinned and said, the advantage of having a lot of strong men at home is that it can help bird people not push their noses or face, which is quite satisfying. Zhao Fian couldn't help but laugh along, laughing very beautifully, like Sakai spring water. Alright, I'll help you find a new toothbrush and towel. After taking a shower, go to bed. I have to go to Jiankong tomorrow. I flipped through a pair of slippers and threw them on the ground. When I walked into the bathroom to put in hot water, I turned around and looked at Zhao Fian, who was changing shoes. Do you want to wash them together? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. I just seen the color and intention. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. I just seen the color and intention. The hair dryer is on the table. If you sleep in this room at night, I will make the bed for you. On the second floor, Zhang Haonan brought out a clean set of bedding and spread it out in a small room facing south. This was the room he used to sleep in, and there were also large stickers for Optimus Prime in the room. The long and used desk is filled with various small handmade origami crafts. Zhao Fian, who wrapped her wet long hair in a towel, responded with a flushed face and walked to the living room on the second floor. She picked up a hair dryer from the coffee table, found a socket, plugged it in, and started blowing. The bathroom is here, just like the one downstairs. I sleep in the north room and call me if you need anything. After making the bed, Zhang Haonan also tidied up his things in the living room, including his student ID card, interview notice, and various award certificates. He felt like he had brought everything he could use with him. Zhao Fian, who was blowing her hair, suddenly stopped. Zhang Haonan heard no sound and turned his head to look at her. So, that. Zhao Fian, whose face turned red, hesitated to speak. Finally, as if unable to hold it back, she held onto a hair dryer and lowered her head, saying, my ID card. It's all here. Wow. The contents of a small bag were all shaken on the coffee table by Zhang Haonan. Here, I have my ID card and birth certificate, and Zhao Jiangluo has given them to me. And when I went there before, he was selling furniture. If you have anything you want to keep, it's best to let me know in advance. I'll say hello to Zhao Jiangluo and buy it. Seeing her belongings on the coffee table, Zhao Fian fell silent and actually stayed there. The grievances and helplessness in my heart resurfaced, but this time the tears were collected. When you come back from Jiankong, go and apply for a household registration. First, move your household registration to your street. Moving to our village is not possible, you have to get married. I have no plans to get married in my life. Zhao Fian clenched her fists upon hearing these words and said, so what are you buying me for? She felt that she must have shouted loudly, but Zhang Haonan didn't even lift his eyelids. I don't want to see you jump off the building, it's out of humanitarianism. I bought you, but I feel like your profile looks like Sakai spring water. You wouldn't think I was in love at first sight, would you? No, I just wanted to see you. Put the things away later and don't lose them, he said. Zhang Haonan's emotions were calm without any ripples, to the point where Zhao Fian's previous resentment and anger only stirred up a small ripple, which quickly dissipated. Then Zhang Haonan placed the prepared new toothbrush on the coffee table and looked at Zhao Fian, saying, brush your teeth and go to bed early. Tomorrow afternoon's interview. I went back to my room and wrote down the lottery number for tomorrow on the table. He was deeply impressed by this second prize. In fact, as long as the scene was reproduced, he could recall many things. However, if he hadn't encountered it, he wouldn't have deliberately thought about it. The special prize number for this issue can be determined by Zhang Haonan, but what is uncertain is whether it will change once he buys it. Because the total bonus for the current period is a fixed ratio, if there are more special prizes, it is very likely that the number will be adjusted slightly. As long as I don't buy a special prize, the likelihood of a balanced bonus below the first prize is higher. When thinking, Zhang Haonan habitually taps his fingers. But the second prize only needs to be claimed at the Shacheng Lottery Center, and the first prize special prize needs to be sent to the provincial capital Jiankang. After weighing, Zhang Haonan calculated a little on paper and decided to buy a 10-bet second prize. At this time, the lottery amount is not too high, and there are not many gameplay options. Zhang Haonan plans to try holding on to the prize pool first. If there are no problems, it is not impossible to pursue a prize of 1.8 billion yuan in 10 or 20 years. I stuffed the note with the number into my wallet, then flipped over to bed and turned off the lights. Amidst the sleepless scene, I suddenly heard the rustling of footsteps, followed by the familiar sound of the hallway light switch. A moment of silence. This quietness, with a strange feeling, made Zhang Haonan feel like there was someone outside the room. Dudu. A knock came at the door. What are you doing? Duh. Turning on the room light, I flipped over irritably and woke up. After opening the door, I saw Zhao Fian standing there with a disheveled head and a pillow in her arms. She lowered her head with a timid expression and said, "I'm a bit afraid of being alone." There were no women's pajamas at home, so Zhao Fian was wearing Zhang Haonan's T-shirt at the time. The wide T-shirt was draped over her like a nightgown, covering her thighs completely. However, the neckline also appeared wide, with some obvious collarbones that had a hint of youthful color and sexiness under the light. There was nothing inside the T-shirt, and Zhao Fian was holding a pillow, obviously not wanting to be seen naked. The complex emotions of shyness, fear, and vigilance intertwine, making her appear both delicate and pitiful, as well as a pure and innocent adolescent. Come on in. Sleep outside or inside? This way. Go to sleep. Lie down, turn off the lights, close your eyes, and in just a moment, Zhang Haonan fell asleep. He is not as tired today as usual. Curled up in a ball, Zhao Fian was originally very alert and afraid, but when she heard Zhang Haonan's rhythmic breathing, she immediately felt much relieved. By the faint glow of the night, not knowing whether it was starlight or moonlight, she finally looked at the Haonan brother of the first class seriously. He was quite angular in appearance, with his eyebrows as sharp as those trimmed with a razor, a bit fierce, but not ugly. After a while, she relaxed her body slightly, and her eyelids began to fight. Eventually, she couldn't hold on and drowsiness hit, making a slight and rhythmic breathing sound. Dee dee, the alarm clock rang, and Zhao Fian suddenly woke up. She looked around and realized it was not her own room. Then, recalling what had happened yesterday, she suddenly touched her body and hurriedly turned off the alarm clock. Duh. The door was opened and Zhang Haonan, dressed in clothes, said to her, "Tomato and egg noodles, brush your teeth and wash your face quickly to come down and eat. Coming soon." Zhao Fian blushed and walked out with her slippers in a panic, while her hands kept tidying up her messy hair. As she hurriedly walked, she trembled and looked very pleasing. While she was washing up, Zhang Haonan had already packed his backpack. In addition to necessary documents and certificates, there were also clothes for changing clothes. As for Zhao Fian, she threw her underwear into the washing machine after taking a shower yesterday and it's not dry yet, so she can only make do with Zhang Haonan's underwear first, and her bra is completely useless. She can only put on a sports shirt outside first. Soon, Zhao Fian went downstairs to eat noodles. Zhang Haonan said to her, "An uncle will drive us to the long-distance station later. Don't worry, you can eat slowly. Zhao Fian flicked her hair to her ear and nodded vigorously. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. This family surnamed Zhang has a problem. You are listening at novelful.audio. Chapter 4. This family surnamed Zhang has a problem. Haonan. On the village road not far from home, there is an old Shanggu brand pickup truck parked, with some cages and other tools in the body. In the driver's seat is a driver in his early 30s, with messy hair and one hand hanging outside the door, holding half a cigarette. Seeing Zhang Haonan coming over, he took another strong puff and quickly threw the unfinished half of his cigarette into the nearby drainage ditch. Taking his last puff of smoke, the driver saw Zhao Fian following behind Zhang Haonan and grinned, "Bull, Zhao Jiangwo's girl." Otherwise. Zhang Haonan smiled and threw his backpack into the back seat. Then, he opened the car door and said to Zhao Fian, "This is my uncle. Just call him uncle after you." "Hello uncle. My name is Zhang Jitsai, you can call me Uncle Jitsai." Nodding her head, Zhao Fian cowered in the back seat with some fear. When she saw Zhang Haonan sitting in the passenger seat, she relaxed a bit. She moved her body and sat behind the passenger seat. A majestic aura, upright and upright. This is the generation passed down by the ancestor of Zhang Haonan. It's Zhang Haonan's turn and he happens to be the 9th generation, starting a new round. My ancestors were not prominent, my ancestors were rebels, my ancestors were also rebels, and Zhang Haonan's old crown prince was even more rebels. As for Zhang Haonan's grandfather, there were 3 who had fought against Amelia on the Goryeo battlefield, and 1 survived. The Gang generation is indeed quite strong, and by the time they reach the Ji generation, they have become much more competitive, but it is also a result of the times, living through a period of rigidity and vulnerability. Haonan, what if Haowei's grades don't go up? Strike. Your aunt always stops me. Next time I come to fight, if my aunt dares to stop me, I'll even fight her, as long as you can hold back. Okay. Zhang Jitsai gritted his teeth and even nodded. Upon hearing this absurd conversation in the back seat, Zhao Fian widened her eyes and looked up at her uncle and nephew in disbelief. What Zhang Haowei does at school every day is clear to me. He dresses up like a thug all day, thinking he's very prestigious. When I come back from Jiankang, I'll go directly to his school. As long as you don't interrupt your hands and feet. Suddenly, Zhang Jitsai spoke with hesitation in his voice and whispered. I can only guarantee that I won't harm him. Zhang Haonan looked at the road ahead and said, I'm not going alone. I'll even call out Haodong and the others. In a word, it makes Zhang Haowei look shameless at school. Uncle, studying is not promising, he has to endure hardship. Zhang Haowei is already quite old, and if he goes to a technical school now, he will only hang out with some thugs. If he's kind, he can learn something from going to a technical school, but uncle, you also know that we can't raise good people in our family. Under the treatment of illness, I understand. With a smack of his lips, as if savoring the lingering smoke, Zhang Jitsai suddenly sighed and said, I just didn't study hard in the beginning, unlike Jibing who got into a police academy. Sigh. It is impossible to reason with my son. A teenager in his 30s and 40s, who is in the grade where he wants to show off his authority, thinks that he knows a few friends and is so arrogant that he can show off his power in school. It's simply not too proud. Zhang Jitsai was a newcomer, and during his youth, he was never like that. Hard work is completely ineffective. In fact, Zhang Haonan did the same before his rebirth. Later, his mother, also known as Zhang Haonan's aunt, was knocked unconscious by his cousin Zhang Haodong's slap. Zhang Haodong was hated by her for 5 years until Zhang Haowei was admitted to Jiankang Medical University, and this grudge was finally resolved. The frequent occurrence of rebellious ancestors naturally makes it clear how low-level and hopeless it is to live in society. Studying is like eating shit, it's never easy. But as long as he reads it out loud, life will be much easier. Zhang Haonan is still old enough, and as long as he gets scared, he knows that as long as he dares to be a little thug, he will be completely destitute and without dignity, and he will naturally go to school. Well, you're right. Zhang Jizai nodded forcefully. Others also have self-esteem. Zhao Fian in the back seat felt that there was a problem with the values of her uncle and nephew, and whispered. From the moment he didn't study hard, he had already lost his self-esteem. Studying is not the only way out. You're right, but studying is the easiest way out. There are shortcuts that don't take them, but we have to take long detours. Such foolishness should be fought to death. I don't look at any family, I'm not from a wealthy family, and I dare not study hard. But we should also communicate well. Why not commit suicide if communication is not good? It's better to have uncle give birth to a new one as soon as possible. At this moment, Zhao Fian was both speechless and angry, but when Zhang Jizai, who was driving, nodded repeatedly, she immediately closed her mouth. There must be something wrong with this family surnamed Zhang. Zhang Haonan did not argue anything with Zhao Fian. In fact, among the big surnames in the surrounding villages, only their family had the most people who took the time express and enjoyed the benefits of the times in the past 25 years. It was Zhang Haonan himself who later had his own land and factory. Contrary to many people's impression that being a boss does not require education, in 5 years, the proportion of people in Shacheng who can earn millions will continue to increase with higher education. Zhang Haonan himself is also one of them. And since it has been reborn, it will naturally further optimize its choices. He refuted Zhao Fian's words not for her, but for Zhang Jizai. Whether the words are pleasant or not is not important, and whether the methods are effective or not is the key. When Zhang Jizai saw Zhang Haonan in at the long-distance bus station, he said, "I'll just take you directly to Jiankang. It won't take you 4 hours by long-distance bus. No need, I'll stop by after the interview and have some fun. It's rare for me to go out. I'll call back if you have something to do. I'm not at home, but at the duck farm." "Okay, don't worry, uncle. I'm sure I can rest assured of you. Sai, when you come back to educate Zhang Haonan." "Okay. Then I'll go back." "Okay." After Zhang Jizai left, Zhang Haonan bought a 20 yuan lottery ticket at the bus station lottery store and stuffed it into his wallet. "If we win, let's go buy a house. Do you like the villa?" Zhao Fian looked at him like a fool. The Linglong Garden, to the west of No. 2 Middle School is good, priced at 800,000 yuan, which is very cost-effective. Zhang Haonan also shared with Zhao Fian about the layout and supporting facilities of the Linglong Garden. When it came to it, it was very reasonable, and Zhao Fian retorted, "It makes you feel like you've lived there before." Then Zhang Haonan fell silent, and Zhao Fian suddenly felt a little flustered. "I don't mean anything else." She thought it stimulated Zhang Haonan. In fact, Zhang Haonan was just a little nostalgic at this time. Before his rebirth, he did live in Linglong Garden and bought it for over 8 million yuan. Later, the housing price rose again, and the villa also rose to over 10 million yuan. But now he has no plans to buy the house he used to live in, but a haunted house that has been auctioned off by the court for many years. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Are you busy and tired? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Are you busy and tired? There are many long-distance buses to Jiankang, and Zhang Haonan didn't wait long before getting on the bus with Zhao Fian, followed by a 4-hour journey on the Songjian Expressway. Leaving the Jiankang long-distance bus terminal, both of them were extremely hot. When Zhao Fian wanted to zip down her coat, Zhang Haonan reminded her, "You're not wearing it inside, so please bear it." Another moment of blushing, Zhao Fian lowered her head and could only endure. But at this moment, Zhang Haonan handed over a kettle and looked at the people and cars coming and going on the roadside not far away. Drink some water first, slowly, go, find a Mazda, he said. Mazda. Zhao Fian was completely confused. Jiankong's Mazda is not Mazda, but a triple bounce with an outer shell added. At this time, it was still everywhere, but disappeared in the urban area of Jiankong within a few years. Later, Jiankong established various university towns, and these Mazdas were replaced by electric ones, active between internet cafes and various universities. It can be said to be an excellent means of transportation within 5 kilometers. Mainly cheap. Where are you going, boss? Guozijian. 5 yuan. 3 yuan, not far away. Oh. Good, 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 go up. I will go to Yangjiang Industrial Park. Sit down now. At the beginning of this year, the transportation in the urban area of Jiankong was very poor. Later, with the development of the economy, the transportation situation worsened and became even worse. That's what we will talk about later. However, the road was not far, and after a leisurely bumpy journey along Huxi Avenue, we arrived in no time. Horizontal and vertical means 4 or 5 miles of road. How do I feel like you're very familiar with this place? I'm in the intensive class. Is the intensive class amazing? Do you understand everything in the intensive class? Zhao Fian rarely has a little temper. Her mental state is actually very unstable now, but following Zhang Haonan, she still has some popularity. Go to the department store first. This is a department store that existed not long after the founding of the People's Republic of China. It is a state-owned old store in Jiankong City, and Zhang Haonan's local classmate from Jiankong before his rebirth. Their childhood memories are almost a part of their happiness, which is here. The shopping mall was very large. I took Zhao Fian around and found the women's underwear counter. Then I said to the teller, "Hello, I want a 75C." The teller aunt stared at Zhang Haonan silently for a while, only to find a girl behind him. She then put on a smiling face and said, "We have a few new styles here." The style is not important, it's all one-handed solutions anyway. What's the point? However, Zhao Fian clearly chose what she liked with a blush on her face. After changing clothes in the changing room, she walked out with a blush on her face. No need to pack, just give me a bag. After giving the money, she left, leaving the teller aunt in a mess. It was the first time she had bought underwear and just put it on before leaving. You. How do you know? Size. Just take a glance and you'll know. How much more do you need? Finally, I can put down the zipper and feel much more comfortable. There's still time, let's have some food first. Let's just, Kaifeng cuisine. Kaifeng cuisine. KFC. Although there is no tender beef recipe these days, having important matters to attend to when going out and not eating anything is as safe as KFC, which was almost one of Zhang Haonan's 3 major choices for business trips later on. Grandpa K, Uncle M, and the restaurant that sells pineapple pizza. Not delicious, but safe. Only during leisure travel can Zhang Haonan turn into a glutton, eating all kinds of delicious food, and even if there are problems with eating, he is not afraid of delaying things. After ordering 4 hamburgers and a whole plate of snacks, Zhao Fian saw them and immediately said, "Can't we both order so many?" The words came to a sudden halt, because Zhao Fian saw that the goods across from him had lost 1/3 of the hamburgers in one bite. Eat quickly. Are you not hungry? I casually added a little tomato sauce, and the freshly fried French fries were crispy and fragrant. Grab a handful and flaunt it in your mouth, really staring at Zhao Fian. Wow! The hamburger paper was crumpled into a ball, and one was gone. Taking a sip of a beverage is half a cup in the blink of an eye, another hamburger paper was squeezed into a ball. Looking down at the hamburger that had only taken a small bite in her hand, Zhao Fian felt that there was a slight difference in appetite. Maybe the ones from the intensive class are more edible. She thought to herself, then felt amused and covered her mouth and began to chuckle. You're laughing nonsense, hurry up and eat. After finishing, go find a place to rest directly. After a while, Zhao Fian finally had enough to eat. After wiping her mouth and washing her hands, the two of them didn't stop and walked to the branch campus of Liangjiang University of Technology. According to the examination room signs, I successfully arrived outside the examination room. There are many parents accompanying their children. When they saw Zhang Haonan and Zhao Fian, one of the parents nodded and smiled at Zhang Haonan, saying, "Are you also sending your child over for an interview?" Zhang Haonan blacked his face and let out a while Zhao Fian was momentarily taken aback, and then his face turned red. After registering and resting in the big classroom, Zhao Fian glanced at Zhang Haonan, who still had a dark face, and whispered, "You're too tall and strong. You don't look like you're 18 years old. You can skip speaking if you don't know how to speak." Zhao Fian smiled without saying a word, didn't raise her eyebrows over her head, and then felt a little drowsy. She just lay on the table to catch a nap. When she woke up, Zhang Haonan walked in and said, "Let's go, we can go home now. You're not going to interview anymore. The written test and interview have all ended, okay? How long did I sleep? I have it in 2 hours' time." Lifting his wrist to look at his watch, Zhang Haonan picked up something and said, "Where are Longkangpu, Dongyuan Street, or something else? Anyone who wants to go is welcome. Don't you worry about the interview results. I'm sure so, I'm the only one in this batch with Osai Province too. Do you still have Orsay Province too? It's not normal for me to be in the second year of my intensive class. The physics class representative is directly in the first year of my junior year. How many students in your 16th class know about it?" Yes, the reinforced class is amazing, the reinforced class is the best in the world. I'm sorry for you in class 16. Zhao Fian's heart went crazy when she heard this, and she was filled with slander, making her cheeks bulge with anger. In fact, she didn't know that Zhang Haonan was really relieved at this moment and asked him to take the college entrance examination a few months later. That was not the shame of the intensive class, but the shame of Shacheng No. 1 middle school. After finishing a mental matter, Zhang Haonan was also in a happy mood. Play for a few days first, relax your mind, and it can be considered a relaxation. Are you very busy and tired? Why do you think I was able to get into the intensive class? I brush through the questions every day until I feel nauseous. I do hundreds or even thousands of times on a question type, and I memorize an excellent essay proficiently. That's how I got through the exam. I can't even get a few tens of thousands of yuan in loan fees. You. Zhao Fian couldn't resist and angrily raised her hand to pat his arm. That's right, in her 16th class, Zhao Zhangluo spent over 100,000 yuan to let her enter Shacheng No. 1 middle school, still pursuing the path of comprehensive development. After being slapped on his arm, Zhang Haonan smiled. In fact, his answer in his heart had nothing to do with the hard work during his studies. Before his rebirth, he was very busy. After graduating from university, I was busy working on capital, and when I got the money, I was busy building land and factories. With factories, I was busy working on exports, even if I made the first million or 10 million. After taking a break, I started a new round of crazy overtime. Either working overtime, or on the way to overtime. Year after year, this has lasted for a full 20 years. Looking back at that period of life now, Zhang Haonan only has one idea. It would be unreasonable if he didn't die suddenly. Damn it. Really, end of this chapter. Chapter 6. Haonan brother, has no youth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Haonan brother has no youth. After leaving Liangjiang University of Technology, I found another Mazda and headed straight to Jinling Hotel. Live here. I didn't answer Zhao Fian, but registered at the front desk and went to the room to rest for a while, feeling mentally exhausted. There is a revolving restaurant above. If you are interested, you can go there and enjoy free coffee. Lying in bed with his eyes closed, Zhang Haonan remained motionless. However, after finishing a mental matter, he felt an inexplicable laziness rising up. This was a wonderful experience he had never experienced in 2 lifetimes. Before being reborn, I never even enjoyed being lazy, damn it. It's very expensive, 5 stars. Help me press my back. Turning around and lying on the bed, he pulled off his entire jacket with his broad back facing the sky. Think of me as a servant. I'm a bit tired. Zhao Fian was taken aback by her tired tone, then blushed and whispered, I haven't learned massage before. Don't blame me for the pain. She finally tried to pinch Zhang Haonan's shoulder and back, feeling like she was touching his tendon. This made her suddenly feel a bit tempted to eat. Use your elbow, your hand force is too weak. You have really many demands. But I still used my elbow and tried to push along both sides of the spine. Zhang Haonan finally felt the strength he deserved, very comfortable, as if his exhaustion was about to be taken away. Although there was no technical skill to speak of, it was enough. Can I also attend college in the future? As long as you want. You bought me and still let me go to college. Suddenly, Zhang Haonan turned around and looked at her. I just wanted to raise you as if you were a domestic animal, he said, that 80,000 yuan, I'll earn money to pay you back in the future. Previously, Zhao Jiangwo was really good to you and protected you too well. Unfortunately, now he is just a gambling dog with no cure. I advise you, even if you are a pro-lousy, a gambling dog like Zhao Jiangwo is no longer a human, just an animal driven by gambling addiction. In the future, you can help him a few times because of his father-daughter relationship, but not more. When he turns 60, he will receive monthly support according to the minimum standard. Zhao Fian was extremely agitated upon hearing this, and immediately sat on the side crying with great grievances. In fact, her life has already been burned by her biological father. Zhao Jiangwo owes nearly 3 million yuan in gambling debts. Zhang Haonan calmly revealed the news that Zhao Fian was completely unaware of, which made Zhao Fian, who had wiped away her tears, stop her tears in an instant. She then looked at him in shock, obviously incredulous, thinking that Zhang Haonan was talking nonsense. Your house in the storefront of the Western Market actually lost last year, and the house was sold out in November. It is estimated that the transfer will take place in February. How did you know about this? I also have a storefront at the Western Market, and Haonan Agricultural Products is mine. This is a small secret. Even before being reborn, only the homeroom teacher Xiao Weidong knew about it. His former high school classmate, who was renovated at the Western restaurant about 15 years later, accidentally discovered it. And that 80,000 yuan, it's not borrowed, it's my own money. Zhang Haonan looked at Zhao Fian with a bewildered expression on his face, but his heart was actually quite complicated. Before his rebirth, he naturally knew Zhao Jiangwo a long time ago and knew that Zhao Jiangwo had a daughter who was in high school with him, but he didn't know that his daughter was Zhao Fian. If she had known each other earlier before her rebirth, perhaps she wouldn't have committed suicide either. That has nothing to do with the current intention of seeing colors, it is purely a humanitarian respect for life. A brand new life comes to an abrupt end before it even begins, which is somewhat regrettable. Zhao Fian, whose mind was buzzing, didn't know what to say for a moment. She wanted to ask her father some questions, but she was full of resentment. Then, like talking nonsense, she said, You student. You don't study hard, run to open a shop. I'm not like you, I have an old man to rely on. Zhang Haonan looked at Zhao Fian and reached out to touch her cheek, wiping away the tears. I can only rely on myself, he said. Where are your parents? Good question. Zhang Haonan grinned and said, I thought you wouldn't be curious. Is it? Zhao Fian thought for a moment, but did not find any incense burners or posthumous photos at home. Haha. Zhang Haonan supported his head with one hand and lay on his side, looking at her. He's not dead, he's all living well, he just ran to Lingnan. How could you? Do you think it's business? With a light smile, Zhang Haonan said calmly, he said he wants to learn advanced gambling techniques. Zhao Fian was stunned. It's also a gambling dog. So you understand why I know so much about gambling on dogs. The house we live in was built by myself, and Zhang Jijun and I. Oh, it's my father. We officially split households 2 years ago. I'm the only one in my household registration book, and the house was also built in the same year. The village takes good care of me. These are all small secrets, and Zhang Haonan, before his rebirth, never mentioned them to his friends in life. Many young people should only suffer after graduating from college. They have eaten it all before the age of 16, and it is double, super double. Looking back, it felt incredibly absurd, even nonsensical. Just like, I went straight from being a teenager, with a snap, and quickly advanced to middle age. The Haonan brother, from Shaching No. 1 middle school lacks youth. Do you still need to press your back? Lowering his head, he twisted his hands together again, clearly exerting a lot of force, and his knuckles turned slightly white. Thank you then. Continuing to push with her elbow, she probably put in a lot of effort this time. After pressing for a while, she said, so, can I take the Jiankong Art College exam? Sure, it's up to you. Tuition fees are quite expensive. You don't need to consider the issue of money. Thank you. It should be. After a moment of silence, Zhao Fian muttered, what does should mean? If you buy an ornamental fish yourself, don't you feed it without any feed? Angry, and aggrieved, mixed with a complex psychology that was difficult to refute, Zhao Fian wished her whole body was pressed against her elbow. Unfortunately, she is a girl of the comprehensive development type, exerting too much force and lying on Zhang Haonan's back, blushing and feeling extremely embarrassed. I'm not in a hurry, why are you in a hurry? What's urgent or not? You. After realizing it, Zhao Fian immediately stood up and didn't want to speak. Then she found that there was only one bed in the room and asked, why is there only one bed in this room? Deluxe king-size room, what do you think? Zhang Haonan, who was much more relaxed, got up from bed and looked at the time. At night, there will be a lantern festival in Longkangpu. We will have dinner at 6 o'clock and then go shopping, he said. Zhao Fian just stood there with a red face, still struggling. Yesterday you slept with my leg between your legs without feeling embarrassed, now you're feeling embarrassed. Who's holding your leg? Alright, wash your face quickly, go out and eat freely. After the exam, you're not afraid of eating bad things. Oh. With a nod, Zhao Fian went to the restroom. However, as she walked in, she whispered, really pinched. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Little by little persistence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Little by little persistence. Although it's cold at night, the bustling Gongyuan street next to Longkangpu doesn't feel too cold. Looking at the scenery of the flower lanterns, the two of them were each holding a roasted sweet potato and slowly nibbling under the archway, while eating and laughing. Occasionally, vendors doing snapshot business came to ask if they wanted to take photos. It's not that Zhao Fian doesn't want to have a good dinner, it's just that she really wants to taste the sweet potato that almost drips out of sugar water. It's really delicious. A pound of sweet potatoes was quickly sold out by Zhang Haonan. He wiped his mouth, squeezed the paper into a ball, and threw it into the trash can. The two of them were walking and watching, and there were many small shops and a lot of food to eat, all kinds of things. There are still some differences from the major scenic spots in 20.30 years. While the scenery will be different in the future, the snacks will be the same. Yeah, I said eat roasted sweet potatoes. You keep some stomach, let's go to the south bank to eat soup dumplings. Take the half of the sweet potato held in Zhao Fian's hand and take her directly across the river. I also want to see the gong yuan. Take a slow look after finishing. Okay then. There is a salted duck restaurant that is also good, and the pai du noodles next to his house are still good now. But in a few years' time, this steamed noodles is not as good as Kong Shui Fu's old phlegm pickled Chinese cabbage noodles. Eating one mouthful is an insult to your IQ. The restaurant that makes soup dumplings is quite good. The owner is from Renzhou and has a tendency to be complacent. They have always adhered to solid ingredients, and their craftsmanship has not reached the level of perfection. However, solid ingredients and good taste are already commendable. When Zhang Haonan hosted a German client, he also stayed at the Jinling Hotel and came here to look for food. This salted duck has no fishy smell. Dealing with the duck's coquettishness is not about craftsmanship, it's about kung fu. It's not firewood either. Eat and cherish it. Why do you say that? Why? Because the boss will open several branches. Then the duck was old, woody, and full of duck coquettishness, completely devoid of the soft and juicy taste of the time. And as the city's business card becomes more and more prominent, it is rushing towards buying and selling with one hammer, and the number of kaisi who come to Jiankong for tourism every day is like a crucian carp crossing the river. But what Zhang Haonan has to admit is that this saltwater duck owner earns much more money than the soup bag owner. And it's much more. The boss who sells soup dumplings still makes pot-covered noodles, focusing on cost-effectiveness. A normal person can eat 80% full for 3 yuan. His crystal dishes are not eye-catching, but they can also be considered small profits but high sales. Usually, only nearby students come to order a plate. If tourists who accidentally come here also come to enjoy it, the exhausted boss will not be able to supply enough. Boss, 2 bowls of small knife noodles with beef. 2 soup dumplings and 1 dish of meat. I don't have any meat now. Yes. The landlady sitting at the counter looked speechless and then coughed lightly. Wait a moment, sit down first. What is a small knife face? It's the pot cover noodles, because the dough was cut with a knife. This shop's vinegar is fine, you can pour a little more on the soup dumplings later. Do you seem to have been here before? This soup bun is an authentic Zhejiang soup bun recipe, with plenty of crab roe inside. Adding some vinegar will make it even fresher. Without answering Zhao Fian's questions, Zhang Haonan still only introduced her reasons for coming here. Nowadays, the price of hairy crabs has not skyrocketed, and there is no local custom of eating crabs recklessly. Therefore, the cost of crab roe is not much pressure for the boss at this time. By the time hairy crabs began to establish their brand origin, the boss's signature soup dumplings had already turned into fresh meat soup dumplings, wow, like xiaolongbao. Suck in the juice with a straw, then peel off a layer of dough, inside which crab golden red blocks form. For people in the water town, this is an irresistible temptation. Delicious. It's so fresh. Be careful of scalding. As she spoke, 2 bowls of noodles had already been served. Zhao Fian glanced and was about to say that the two of them couldn't finish their meal, but when she thought about Zhang Haonan's appetite, she immediately closed her mouth again. After eating the steaming food, the whole person feels warm and full of happiness, with a sense of worry-free food and clothing. With a deep gulp of noodles, the sauce is quite good, and the beef is even more solid. It's definitely worth 3 yuan without beef, and it's only 8 yuan if you add it. I sandwiched a piece of meat, and the taste was not as good as the reputation of the old store in Renzhou, but as the saying goes, the ingredients were solid, and the boss did not have top-notch craftsmanship, but could use top-notch craftsmanship. And not particularly picky, this is definitely a qualified and delicious snack. Add a little vinegar and taste it again. Picking up the vinegar dish and pouring it into the soup bag, Zhang Haonan watched as Zhao Fian took a bite, as if his eyes had lit up. His original big eyes were now shining brightly. Not saying anything, eyes are the highest evaluation. Vinegar is not bad, meat is not considered a dish, and the lid of the pan is cooked in the noodle pot. When you come to Jiankong to study in the future, I will take you to the neighboring Runzhou to eat authentic food. This is also authentic. The boss, wearing a hat and an apron, stood in the hallway not far away with a disdainful expression on his face. Absolutely authentic. Taking a breath from the kitchen, I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I stuffed half of my cigarette back in and said to Zhang Haonan again, I'm sure it's authentic. Huh, it's authentic. I said the wrong thing, boss, don't be angry. The dissatisfied boss nodded and took 2 steps outside, then turned his head and said again, it's really authentic. Shit. Zhao Fian was amused by the boss and just took a bite of her face, almost spitting it out. The boss walked out speechless, then squatted in the corner to smoke, took a sip and looked inside, muttering something. In no time, another guest came in. He quickly extinguished his cigarette, then slapped the smoke with his hand, and carefully placed the half-smoked cigarette on the corner stone pillar. After a while, he had to come back and continue smoking. When entering the kitchen, the boss glanced at Zhang Haonan's table, then went into the back kitchen to wash his hands, cut a plate of meat and shouted, Guifan, serve the dishes, the young man's table. The meat has passed. I invited it. The landlady was also speechless, but she still brought the meat over. Boss, I didn't. Sent. The landlady spoke softly, afraid of being overheard by other guests. Thank you. You're welcome. I'll come back often in the future. After the landlady left, Zhao Fian was very curious and said, why did you send it? Maybe you look beautiful. Zhao Fian immediately blushed again, silently glared at Zhang Haonan, and then heard him chuckle softly, saying, this boss has this personality. It can be said that he doesn't cook well, but it can't be said that he doesn't make it authentic. Why? If it's not delicious, it's because his craftsmanship is not good, and if it's not authentic, it's because he can't use the right ingredients. Zhang Haonan smiled and said, do you think this boss is okay? That's indeed pretty good. Zhao Fian nodded, feeling in her heart that she was also very persistent and ethical, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Pure Money Relationships. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Pure Money Relationships. Persistence is a precious quality of character. Facing temptation and pressure, being able to persevere becomes even more precious. Before his rebirth, Zhang Haonan only felt that his boss was kind, but it would take 20 or 30 years before he realized how difficult it was for him. Are you full yet? Hiccup. Zhao Fian, who was about to answer, suddenly hiccuped and quickly covered her mouth with her hand, her face turning red in an instant. Let's go. Glancing at the echoing Zhao Fian, Zhang Haonan pondered in his heart that most of her suicidal thoughts had dissipated. Besides, time, eating, drinking, and having fun is probably the simplest way to deal with troubles. At the door, the boss crouched in the corner smoking his butt. When he saw Zhang Haonan leave, he raised his chin and looked dissatisfied. Is it authentic? Ha ha ha. Unable to hold back, Zhang Haonan also laughed. The boss was also blush. Wu Zai gritted his teeth and said, I am authentic here, absolutely authentic. The Zhejiang Tang Bao is inherited directly, and I have learned from it. Boss, let's go now. I'll come often from now on. After nodding, the boss said, come back next time. It's very authentic here. Zhao Fian, who was following Zhang Haonan, immediately turned her head and smiled. The two of them were strolling on the street with their hands in their pockets, while the boat on Longkangpo lit up its lights, shining brightly on the river. The flower lanterns on the shore are also shining in the distance. The people on the shore are looking at the boat lanterns, and the people on the boat are looking at the flower lanterns on the shore. Standing on the arch bridge, the flickering lights meandered forward like a long dragon, and this scenery only immersed Zhang Haonan once in his 2 lives. He didn't see it for the first time, but before his rebirth, he only saw it, and now, he is appreciating it. For a moment, he felt a sense of emotion surge in his heart, and in the end, the words on his lips were just, pretty good, leaving Zhao Fian speechless. If this is just, pretty good, how good is it? Boss, won't you take photos? It hasn't opened yet. The guy who runs the snapshot business is probably in his early 30s, wearing a leather jacket and talking with a smile. Then I'll have one. Thank you, boss. The photographer's equipment is a Wisteria brand Polaroid camera. Although it is still popular now, it will not be long before it is completely replaced by digital cameras. Okay. Look over here, both of you smile. Holding Zhao Fian in her arms, the girl felt a bit shy, but still looked towards the camera ahead. Accompanied by a click sound, the youthful Haonan brother seems to have buried the huge defects of his previous life at this moment. Thank you, boss. I packed the photos and handed them to Zhang Haonan. Looking at himself in the photo gave Zhang Haonan a strong sense of unfamiliarity. Except for high school graduation photos, there seems to be no life photos in the 20.30 years after my previous life. Looking back, my mood suddenly became very bad. I don't take photos very much. She handed the photo to Zhao Fian, quickly picked it up with both hands and looked at it again. She secretly glanced at Zhang Haonan, who was looking at the road, and then lit up the lantern to look at the person in the photo. Then she whispered, I feel pretty good. In the photo, Zhang Haonan had sharp eyebrows and sharp eyes. When she hugged her, there was an indescribable sense of security. This made Zhao Fian carefully put the photo away, put it in her bag, and gently took a photo. At this moment, most of her troubles have moved away from her, and this carefree feeling makes her reluctant to part ways. 2 days ago, she was thinking of saying goodbye to the world. I heard Zhao Jiangwo say, are you studying painting? Want to study at Jiankang Art College? I don't mean to, I can only take this score. The mock exam means passing the undergraduate admission line. Talking about this, she felt a bit embarrassed. Her junior high school grades were good, considered above average, but when she came to Shacheng No. 1 middle school, she was just the last one. Of course, most of the people in class 16 came to lower the rate of first-class students in Shacheng No. 1 middle school. Then let's go to Jiankang Art College. Zhang Haonan nodded and said, tomorrow I'll go see a house next to Jenny and come over to buy it during the summer vacation. Buying a house. Isn't it possible to live on campus? Just treat it as an investment, it won't cost much anyway. The residential buildings near Jenny are still mostly old-fashioned brick and concrete, not to mention elevators, they don't even have natural gas. The housing price is actually cheap, at 3,000 yuan per square meter. However, just like in the future, there are not many affordable options, mainly for college intellectuals and those who eat public meals. The minimum wage for Jiankang now is only 200 to 300, 700 to 800 per month, which is already quite good for one person. If the monthly salary exceeds 1,000, it has already exceeded the average level. Years later, those who can't afford it now will take out their savings and give their children a down payment. No matter how bad the brick and mortar are, buying them now will yield a profit return of 15 times in the future. Before his rebirth, Zhang Haonan was engaged in machining and worked tirelessly for 2 years to earn profits, which was not as profitable as selling someone else's house for a year. Having a profit of 5 points can make one happy for a long time. In most cases, the profit of the processed workpiece itself is almost 50 cents to 2 yuan, and it is all earned by selling scrap iron through cutting. At that time, when classmates gathered, they were always covered in black and yellow oil stains that couldn't be washed off by hand, and the smell of engine oil on their bodies couldn't be dispelled. Haonan brother made more people stay away. At that time, Zhang Haonan utilized his annual income, with the majority coming from Haonan agricultural products, accounting for approximately 70%. A machining factory that is no different from a small workshop already has 5 workers and apprentices. Funny and comical. Cotton candy. Zhao Fian's cheers and shouts made Zhang Haonan's thoughts return. The two of them went to the store door and had the boss walk around 2 branches. Don't you eat it. I'll take it for you. Thank you. Her flickering big eyes became even brighter at this moment. Zhao Fian extended her tongue to lick and then smiled awkwardly, a bit playful. She was afraid of cotton candy on her face, but she still rubbed some on her cheeks. Wait a minute. Seeing Zhao Fian reaching out to wipe off the marshmallows on her cheek, Zhang Haonan stopped and then lowered his head to kiss her cheek. It's quite sweet. Zhao Fian, whose cheeks were instantly hot, suddenly felt cramped, her eyes flickering rapidly. She lowered her head, wanting to take a quick 2 steps, but then dodged towards Zhang Haonan's side. She felt as if she had been stared at by countless gazes earlier, embarrassed and shy. Once without his youth, Haonan Gu naturally did not have his own white moonlight. When he earned his first million, the beautiful women he was with were all naked and pure financial relationships, without any emotions mixed in. Of course, the Zhao Fian in front of me is actually a matter of money, but at least there is still a hint of youthful vigor. Although it's rare, there are still some. The white moonlight bought with money not bad. End of this chapter. In chapter 9, she is generally abnormal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In chapter 9, she is generally abnormal, so shopping is so tiring. It was almost midnight when Zhang Haonan returned to the Jinling Hotel. As soon as he entered the room, he immediately sat down on the sofa, feeling more exhausted than playing a basketball game. Before his rebirth, his most tiring experience was taking on a welding job. He stayed up for 2 days and nights, and the other party gave him an extra 1,200 yuan worth of cigarettes. That time, Zhang Haonan also fell asleep and was so tired that he wished he couldn't fall asleep. However, compared to shopping, he actually finds overtime a bit more enjoyable. At least they have money. Do you wash it first or should I wash it first? Zhao Fian, who was still full of energy, still had a flushed face and glanced awkwardly at Zhang Haonan. You wash it first, I'll lie down for a while. Turn on the TV, find a children's channel to watch Ultraman, watch for more than 10 minutes, and then the whole person finally calms down. There is a small refrigerator in the room. In addition to water, there are carbonated drinks and familiar coconut juice. Kachi. I opened a can of coconut juice and took a delicious sip. Haha. Comfortable. I took a long breath, closed my eyes, thinking not about Zhao Fian who was taking a shower, but about the 10-second prizes. Thinking of something, he found a simple phone book in his backpack and found a number on it. He picked up the phone in the room and dialed it. Is it a Ximen real estate intermediary? Yes, may I ask if there is anything I can help with? This Ximen real estate intermediary has a unique feature. Its store closes at midnight every day, lasting for 30 to 40 years, and the owner is on duty at night. Although Zhang Haonan doesn't quite understand what this operation is, this boss has indeed made a lot of money, and there is no problem with financial freedom. Is there a house in Linglong Garden available? There are 3 buildings, 2 of which are the ones the homeowner wants to release from abroad, and one of which is a haunted house belonging to the court. The sound of a lighter came from the receiver, indicating that a cigarette had already been lit on the other side. A haunted house. A house that cannot be auctioned. Yes, the woman killed the man, no one wanted him, and the court also happened by the way, meaning. Both sides are communicating in the Shaoqing dialect, both locals, so it's not as likely that they will mess around. After all, they can't figure out what the other party's background is. I am currently in Jiankang. Can I see a house next week? Anytime, I have the key. Then let's go to next Thursday, it's not many days either. Boss, what is your surname? My surname is Zhang, I will go directly to your store when the time comes. Okay, no problem. If Mr. Zhang comes over and there is no one in the store, ask the staff to notify me. Okay, that's it for now. Okay, Boss Zhang, you're busy. See you again. After hanging up the phone, Wang Jun, the owner of the Shiman Real Estate Intermediary store, looked confused and said, buying villas in the middle of the night. I should have gotten rich. At this time, the rise of real estate agencies was not long after the cessation of housing distribution. Wang Sun's Shiman Real Estate Agency was no different from a small shop, and he did not register a company, purely because his family had a wide range of connections and face. But usually it means doing some welfare housing business that was previously allocated to various units, with very thin profits, which is a small business at this time. The 2 villas that were placed with him were only because of the landlord's father, who used to be old colleagues in the same unit. On TV, Ultraman released the Spicium light, and the Zabula people finally fell under the light of justice. Zhang Haonan and Yu Rongyan felt like they had also contributed a lot, otherwise the evil cosmonauts would have designated to rule the Earth. As Ultraman finished airing, a Brain Platinum advertisement that was extremely incompatible with the children's channel emerged. Zhang Haonan smiled directly. Why are you laughing so happily? The bathroom door opened, the towel wrapped around her hair, and Zhao Fian had already put on a new set of pajamas. The 2 small dots were still so eye-catching. Turning her head to watch the TV, Zhao Fian saw that the Brain Platinum advertisement was not over yet. She was confused and said, what's good about advertisements? You know what? This is my youth. Ignoring Zhao Fian, he himself rushed into the bathroom and did a random wash, then had the hotel take the dirty clothes for washing. Go to bed early. Zhao Fian is actually a bit tired, but there's no need to worry about anything. Just eating, drinking, playing, and shopping feels really good. In fact, she also had a little psychological preparation, thinking that something might happen tonight. As a result, he turned to look at Zhang Haonan, who was also sleeping on his side, and was speechless for a moment. Go to sleep, don't think about anything. Didn't you mean to say? To see what you mean. Zhang Haonan turned around and the 2 faced each other. Under the faint night light, they could still see each other's bright eyes. Actually, I'm a bit tired today, forget it. After speaking, Zhang Haonan hugged Zhao Fian and then reached out to touch her slightly, kissing her as he pleased. A little nervous, a little more stimulating, Zhao Fian surprisingly felt very excited. Her heart was so complex at this moment. After passing in front of the Yen Prince, she had no thoughts about the future. My mind is empty and I feel at a loss. But Zhang Haonan's appearance gave the obscure and gloomy rest of her life a direction, even though she didn't know exactly where that direction was. But what about it? It's all earned, anyway. I don't have much independent opinion and I'm not that smart. After being touched, she instinctively trembled and clenched her hands tightly into fists, completely letting Zhang Haonan handle her. She didn't understand anything and didn't think about anything else. Are you not afraid of getting pregnant? If you get pregnant, it will delay a lot of things. Although Zhang Haonan had already taken the lead, he was still able to extremely and cruelly ignore the situation. It's okay. Zhao Fian turned her head away and bit her lips, her face becoming increasingly rosy. It was obvious that she had made a significant decision, and when Zhang Haonan was not aware of it, she made a choice in her heart. Everything comes naturally. Then, resting on Zhang Haonan's arm, Zhao Fian was nestled in her arms and slept until she naturally woke up. After ordering the room meal, neither of them went out for a whole day to play, but Zhao Fian felt that it was more meaningful than taking photos at any scenic spot. Are you really not afraid of getting pregnant? Not afraid. Shaking his head and lying in Zhang Haonan's arms, the two watched the episode of The Dream of Red Mansions, Ronghua Mansion Yuan Shao, filled round balls made of glutinous rice. Flour for Lantern Festival, dinner, being replayed on TV. Seeing that the old lady was tired, Wang Shifeng said, "It's time for the deaf to set off a firefight. Let's go. If you don't accompany me anymore in the future, having a little baby with me would be great." Zhang Haonan was stunned for a moment, and finally remembered again that this was a girl he had brought back from the gates of hell. She is generally abnormal. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Teacher, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Teacher. After playing in Jiankong for 5 days, Zhang Haonan had a very strong feeling that Zhao Fian seemed to have a sign of treating him like a father. However, this idea is only hidden in my heart and does not indirectly attack Zhao Fian. After all, it is not important. After returning to Shacheng, I called my homeroom teacher Xiao Weidong, who directly informed Zhang Haonan, Principal Xia from the enrollment office of Liangjiang Industry has inquired about it, and it's not a big problem. Are you really not taking the college entrance examination? With your strength, Songjiang Jiaodong University is not a problem. Teacher Xiao is also aware of my family's situation. Spring and summer are very busy, and I really don't have the energy. Sigh. Xiao Weidong sighed and said, "You have your own opinions, that's great. I believe in your future, Haonan. You can come to me and find Principal Xia anytime." Teacher Xiao, Zhang Haonan shouted, "Thank you for taking care of me so much." Yes, I am your teacher. There are many lucky things in life, and meeting a good teacher is one of them. Before his rebirth, Zhang Haonan suffered from the friction of life too early, but he did not fail in setbacks, or rather embarked on a path of no return. Among them were the efforts and help of excellent educators such as Xiao Weidong and Xia Junliang. Of course, in the new life, at least Xiao Weidong, who teaches Chinese, will not be so embarrassed, which can be considered quite perfect. Come with me to Mr. Xiao's house tonight. Ah! What are you going to do? When calling Xiao Weidong, Zhao Fian was gnawing on sugarcane on the side, looking a bit silly because she was eating very attentively. At this moment, my eyes widened, my mouth opened, and the sugarcane in my hand was not yet fully nibbled, making me appear even more charming and naive. Recognizing the door, I will still be in frequent contact in the future. Do you have such a good relationship with Teacher Xiao? Teacher Xiao has a good relationship with all the students, not just me. Zhang Haonan thought carefully, and it seemed that there was no student in his memory who had a bad impression of Xiao Weidong. Even his senior students, who were 5 or 6 years older, came back to Shacheng on Xiao Weidong's 59th birthday. However, Zhang Haonan is somewhat unique. The existence of Anan agricultural products makes it impossible for Xiao Weidong not to pay attention. Also, when I'm preparing to serve the wine, please ask Teacher Xiao to take the main seat. What kind of wine should we serve? Wedding wine. Zhao Fian's apricot eyes widened, and then her pretty face suddenly turned red. No, didn't she say she wouldn't get married? If you don't obtain the certificate, you still need to handle the alcohol. It feels a bit abnormal, but it's so stimulating. Zhao Fian's gaze at Zhang Haonan also became a bit excited, and her heart was inexplicably happy. How could there be such a person? It's really exciting. Is there anyone in your family who needs to be notified? Relatives haven't been in contact for 2 or 3 years. Talking about this, Zhao Fian suddenly lost interest and thought for a moment before saying, "There's an aunt. But she's in Yushan." She didn't mention her grandparents, obviously not very close. But this is also normal, betting on dogs is unlikely to attract people's likes. His father Zhang Jijun is also like this, being equivalent to a dead person among his relatives of the same generation. Nowadays, Zhang Haonan's aunt and grandfather are not simply seen as younger generations, but as the head of a household when interacting with Zhang Haonan. You can shout whoever you want. I don't actually have many people here, just treat it as a casual meal. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Haonan said, of course, if you want to take wedding photos, I have no problem. Can we take a photo? Then take a picture. I don't want a white wedding dress, I want a red one. Sure. Hee hee. Zhao Fian chuckled foolishly, her bright big eyes fixed on Zhang Haonan for a while. What's wrong? Just. I never thought about getting married. Then she felt a little regretful and said, if I had known, I wouldn't have been working in Jiankang. Do what? Do. Suddenly taken aback, Zhang Haonan reacted and felt extremely speechless. After touching her long hair, Zhang Haonan got up and went out. Zhao Fian quickly asked, where are you going? Ask Auntie to catch a chicken and take some grass to dry. Teacher Xiao likes to eat these two things very much. I'll go too. Then let's do it together. Xiao Weidong discovered Anan agricultural products because of this. He has a great love for grass-head dry braised chicken, which is a typical sweet taste method of Suzhou braised chicken. But in recent years, there are actually not many people buying dried grass. It is everywhere in the countryside, and the southern alfalfa can be seen everywhere in the fields. It is as dense as grass, and after cutting, it is even more exaggerated than leeks. But it can be seen everywhere in the countryside, which doesn't mean it's in the city. Simply put, it's too cheap, and rural people don't care much about it themselves. This kind of black under the lamp is the source of profit for Anan agricultural products. Besides normal local chickens and ducks, these dried and pickled vegetables are actually very easy to sell. Grass carp is not valuable. After being made into salted fish, it becomes valuable and has an excellent taste. The fish meat also turns into garlic cloves. Chow Tu Gan is also like this. Zhang Haonan also used the nickname Jinhua Kai, based on Tao Hongjing's Record of Famous Doctors, which is a gimmick and very popular among Anan agricultural products. It has a chewy texture with shredded bamboo shoots, which is exactly what Xiao Weidong eats. It is completely different from the refreshing taste of fresh grass. Bringing Zhao Fian to visit has also attracted the curiosity of many older generations. Grandfathers of the just generation also rest at home. They have long learned from Zhang Zhizai that Zhang Haonan has brought back a wife from outside. Anan, take your wife out for a walk. Recognize the door so as not to meet again in the future. Hello Grandpa. Zhao Fian folded her hands in front of her and nodded timidly, politely greeting her. Anan is not bad, he has vision. Zhao Fian responded shyly, feeling even more joyful and a sense of identity pride in her heart. She feels strange, but she can't suppress the excitement. After dinner, when she sat in the back seat of Shanqing 80 again, she tightly hugged Zhang Haonan's waist. Then, in her wild thoughts, she was pondering various wonderful postures. Her cheeks turned red, and she felt embarrassed to bury her head on Zhang Haonan's back. Unfortunately, wearing a helmet made me feel panicked. The motorcycle made a bumpy journey, turning 7 or 8, and arrived at the east gate of the flower and bird market in Shacheng. I found a place to park because at this time, Shacheng had already begun to prohibit motorcycles from passing through the area. Fortunately, it was not far away. Carrying 2 large bags of things, we walked 300 to 500 meters and arrived at a residential area. It is also an old-fashioned brick and concrete welfare house, with a bicycle shed at the back entrance. After going up to the 3rd floor and knocking on the door of room 301, the sound of fast walking came from inside. Here we go. Xiao Weidong, wearing an apron and holding a spatula, opened the door and was stunned. "Have you eaten yet?" "I'm cooking," he said, "a big rooster, 2 bags of dried grass, and 1 bag of dried water bamboo." After entering the door, Zhang Haonan first put down his things and started talking to Xiao Weidong. The 2 teachers and students had no distinction or estrangement at all, which made Zhao Fian envious. End of this chapter.